What is going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to yet another video. My name is Anthony Pinto da Costa and you are watching Canadian Physio Student. Alright people, so today's video is all about grade point average, better yet known as GPA, which I assume is probably the number one concern that most of you physio school hopefuls have for applying during your application cycle. And because it's such a big concern for most of you, I've decided to make this video in order to clear things up for you. So during this video, I'm going to show you guys 1, how to make sense of GPA and how to calculate it. 2, show you an easy online tool that you can use to easily calculate your own GPA. And then 3, I'll be telling you guys what my GPA was for when I applied to physio school in order to show you guys where you kind of stand within the rankings of applying to physio school this year. So to start, I'll just be addressing today on how to actually calculate your GPA so you guys have an understanding of where these random values of 3.78, 3.82, 3.95 all come from. I remember this being definitely a big point of confusion for me when I was applying, so I want to try and clear that up for you guys too. Another thing I want to address is how your marks will be taken into account when applying to physio school, as this can vary depending on the type of situation that you're currently in. I remember this, again, being an area of confusion for me when I was applying, so I just want to try and make it as clear as day. So first, let's start with the calculation. And as you guys know, all schools use different methods of how they grade their students. Some will use letter grades, some will use percentages, others go by the 4.0 GPA scale, while others go by the 4.3 GPA scale. But since most schools use percentages for their grading scheme, I'm going to use percentages for my example on how to show you guys how to calculate it. And then after, I'll show you guys how you can convert it by using those other methods of the grading scheme. All right, so the first thing we need to do here is go to this GPA conversion chart. As you can see here, there's a lot of numbers matching up with certain GPA values that you can see on the left-hand column of this chart. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be focusing on column 3 here because that was the column that was relevant for me. I went to Western for my undergrad, so that was the column that I used when I was calculating my grades. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see that there's a bunch of universities listed here, so you can just try and find yours and then match up your university's column with the column that you see at the top here and then calculate it from there. However, where you go to school right now doesn't really matter for what I'm trying to do here. I'm just trying to show you guys the concept of GPA and how it's calculated. So we'll first start with just looking at column 3, and then whatever you learn here, you can apply it to your school's GPA column. So to finally show you guys how this works, let's pick a random GPA here in the left-hand column. So we'll start with 3.7. Now we'll move over to the right and go into the third column. And as you can see there, between an 80 and an 84 is equal to a 3.7 GPA. So 2 things here. Number 1, this does not mean that if you have an average between an 80 and an 84, that means that your GPA is 3.7 overall. It just means that if you got between an 80 and an 84 in a course, in one specific course, that means that you have a 3.7 GPA in that course. This will all make sense in a minute. And number 2, this means that in the GPA grading scheme, there's absolutely no difference between scoring an 80 in a course as opposed to an 84. So for example, let's take 2 people, we'll call them John and we'll call them Sally. Say these 2 people took the same course, for example, Intro to Biomechanics. If John got an 80 in the class and Sally got an 84 in the class, Sally clearly did better than John percentage-wise because she got the higher percentage. However, GPA-wise, they both did the exact same in the course. They both got a 3.7. Yes, you heard that right. They both did the exact same in that course, GPA-wise. So this is where GPA can get tricky, and it can definitely rub people the wrong way, because somebody can have a clearly better overall grade percentage average than somebody else, but have a lower overall GPA than that same person that they have a higher grade percentage average over. So let me explain this one too. So say we got the same two people, John and Sally. John takes 5 courses in a semester, Sally also takes 5 courses in a semester. Say John got an 85 in every single one of those courses. And then say Sally got an 89 in 4 of those courses, but got an 83 in 1 of those courses. As you guys know, Sally would clearly have the greater grade percentage average. She would have an average of 87.8, whereas John's would be an average of 85% overall. But because John's marks are all within that 3.9 category of the GPA chart, and one of Sally's is in the 3.7 category of that chart, but the rest of her marks are in that 3.9 category, John would have the higher GPA, which would be a GPA of 3.9 overall, and Sally's would be an overall GPA of 3.86, even though she has the higher grade percentage average overall. Yes, I know it's weird how this works, but it's just the way it is. So I kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone with this one. I showed you guys initially how to calculate your own GPA, and then I subsequently showed you guys how somebody with a higher percentage overall can have a lower GPA than somebody with a lower percentage overall. But there's still some scenarios that we gotta walk through. So this year, and practically every year, there's gonna be 2 types of people who are applying to physio school. The first are people who are still doing their undergraduate degree and are applying in the January of their final year of that degree. And 2, there's gonna be people who may have been out of school for a while or just taking a gap year that are applying to physio school this year. So using this website called whatsmygpa.ca, I'll try to navigate you guys as best as I can through how we're gonna calculate it here. So the first thing we gotta do here is select your university or college that you attend. So I went to Western, so that's the one I would choose. However, you can scroll through here and see where your university is. So for example, if you went to UBC, you can click that and then go from there. But I'm gonna go back to Western here. And then the next thing we gotta do here is we have to see what types of grades we're gonna be putting in. So there's 3 options here. You got 4.0 GPA scale, letter grades, and then percentages. So I'm gonna throw in 4.0 GPAs because I'm just assuming that we've already taken my marks into account and then have matched them up with their respective GPA values. So if we scroll down here now, it will then tell you to enter your grades and their credit weight. So as you can see, I've already entered in all these random grades. And 2 things here. So number 1, where you can see in the credit column, that whenever you see a 0.5, that means that that's a half course. So that's a course that I took just in 1 semester. And then whenever you see a 1.0 like this, that's a full year course. So that counts as 2 half courses. And then in the grade column is obviously where we're going to be putting in our GPA values. So now that you guys know that, I will now walk you through the first scenario that I was telling you guys about. So if you are in your 4th or final year of your undergraduate degree, the marks that are going to be taken into account are all of your 3rd year courses. So that's assuming if you took a full course load. And then all of your 1st semester 4th year courses. So from September to December of that final year of your undergraduate degree, because you will be applying in January. And the marks after that will not be taken into account for your sub GPA. So adding those 2 years together, that's going to be your 15 most recent courses. So if we count here, 1, 2, 3, I say 2, 3 on 1.0 because that counts as 2 courses. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's going to be our 3rd year courses. And then when we get into 4th year, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we have 15, but the ones that will be taken into account for your sub GPA are going to be your most recent 20 courses. So that's why you guys can see over here that there's a blank slot or a few blank slots. So where are these grades going to come from? Well, they're going to come from your second year of undergrad. So I prepared this Word document for you guys just to show you exactly what I mean here. So say this is your second year and you took 10 courses, assuming that they're all courses that count within the GPA scale. So that would exclude sport classes and field experience courses, as you can see at the bottom here. But say that you took those 10 courses and then you got a percentage grade in all of them. What we want to do first is, for each individual course, we have to match up that percentage grade with its respective GPA value. So for example, if you got a 80 in the course, you would have had a 3.7 in that course. Once you've done that for every single course, we want to add the GPA values and then divide by 10, because our whole semester here is 10 full marks, so we want to find out the average there. And then that will be the GPA for your entire second year. And then whatever that value is the number that we're going to put in for the remainder of those slots. So if we go back here, say it was, for example, 3.61. So we'll type in 3.61 and then put a 0.5, 3.61, 0.5, and so on. Okay, so we got all our marks here now. So on the other end of things, if you're somebody who has been out of school or has taken a gap year from their final year of undergrad, then the marks that are going to be taken into account are your entire third year and your entire fourth year, assuming that you took a full course load in both of those years. So these second year marks that I just added here will not be taken into account if you have been out of school already. Those are just for the undergrads who are applying right now in their final year of study. And then last thing here for you guys, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you will see that they will give you your value in the 4.0 GPA scale, and then they will give you a letter grade, and then finally a percentage. And then lastly, if you want to see the conversion chart, you can just click here on View Conversion Chart, and then it will give you the specific conversion chart for letter grade, percentage, and GPA specific to the school that you selected in the first step of this whole process. So I hope that's cleared things up for you guys a bit. I hope it makes sense. May have to watch it maybe a few times just to fully wrap your head around it. Like I said, it was pretty confusing for me when I was applying. I originally thought it was just whatever your grade average was in your second year, third year, and half of that fourth year. Somehow that grade average would be converted into a GPA, but it's more dependent on what you got in each individual class, and then that's what you get as a GPA value. So now that that's all out of the way, I'll now share with you guys what my GPA was when I was applying to physio school. And this isn't to gloat whatsoever. To be honest, I don't really have a high enough GPA to gloat about. I kind of just slid right into physio school by this much of a margin, so definitely nothing to gloat about here. But when I applied, my GPA was a 3.72 out of 4. And I hope that kind of motivates you guys, because I know they make it seem like you have to get these ridiculously high GPA values. And to be honest, you kind of do for the other schools except for Queens. Queens typically accepts lower GPAs because they put more of an emphasis on the personal statement, which I'll be doing a video on soon enough, but this one's just about GPA for now. But yeah, I'm just trying to show you guys that you don't have to be all the way at the top end of that GPA range in order to get into physio school. But if you want to be safe, if you want to give yourself more options and what schools you can get into and what schools you can meet the cutoff for, if you hang around that mid 3.8 range, you're pretty much good for every single school in Ontario and in Canada just in general. But other than that, I think we've covered pretty much everything we've needed to cover in this video. I showed you guys how to make sense of your GPA and how to calculate it. I showed you guys different scenarios in which GPA calculation is different. And then finally, I shared you guys what my GPA is, just to give you guys more of a heads up on where you should be in order to get into physio school. So my last words for you guys is just keep grinding, maintain that same level of consistency in every single class. Just try to get that, 85 and higher range, because that's what's really gonna keep you safe and make you meet every single cutoff from every single school in Canada. And then from there, you'll be able to have a lot of options. I know it's tough to maintain that same level of consistency, but once you finally get into physio school, after all those years of working hard to get those marks, it just makes it so worth it. So just keep going, because it's an unreal profession. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, make sure to like, share, of course, smash that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me in the comments. However, if they're more specific to what your own school requirements are, maybe schedule an appointment with an academic counselor, as they'll be able to provide you with the most accurate information out there. So again, I hope this helped. This has been my first real tip video for future physiotherapy students, and over the next few weeks I'll make sure to keep them coming. Definitely going to be talking about personal statement and some other things that may help you in preparation for attending physio school in the future. So until then, stay tuned, and I will see you guys at the next video.
Another day, another dollar to be made. I'm a workaholic, ballin' hard until the grave. Used to wanna be a baller for the NBA, till the fellas around me started dunking in the 7th grade.